hip-hop's relation to United Nations, as in instilling their attention, bringing to the awareness what is significance or insignificance of that, also with consciousness, the fifth element, the consciousness, putting it into the minds of the people, the minds of even the people that's doing it wrong, you know, the etc. And the significance of, or insignificance of, finally there being a museum, so that way the history can be documented and be able to be accessed like a library, and what would be the advantages or disadvantages to such a thing, especially in the Bronx where it was born, and for it to finally, truths can come out that never came out before, because a lot of people's opinion on hip-hop or awareness of it.
Let me stop you. 2 years ago, some people came from Cornell University, and they came with respect and a fat check, and they bought my archive. So that if I die tomorrow, my work will forever be in the Cornell University, in their vault. But it's also not just sitting in a vault. It is also accessible. It's going to be put accessible on the internet and in the world, and as a master database. And the people who came to me were respectful, kind, and knowledgeable. So that means that if I die tomorrow, my work will forever be in that archive. So that's exactly what you're talking about. Having people be able, you know, we all know who Slick Rick is, we all know who Jay-Z is, but in 50 years, nobody will know. So that archival quality is going to be there, and that's very, very important, especially in a digital world where you can access information from anywhere. So my work is now in the permanent collection of the Cornell University files, which is huge for me. I mean, that was just, the respect and the kindness was unbelievable.
Okay, so it's along the same tracks, right? Okay, hip-hop has been corrupted, etc., however it wants to be interpreted, as it spreads globally, or actually it did spread globally, but let's say in Africa or some other, you know, China, some other place where it's still in like real ghetto, you know what I mean, not like the kind of ghetto we talk about, like actual ghetto, you know what I mean, and like they're getting, for instance, I know a person that came here from Africa, and he's basically, he was
also Trenchtown in Jamaica.
Yeah, those, I mean, those real ghettos, you know what I mean, where there's real gangs, real etc. But their perspective, like they're looking at 50 Cent, they're looking at whoever's out there. I don't listen to music, so I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? So they're looking at those people. So the library, I mean, the museum, I think, would be important along the lines of, say you were from some country where you're just gonna get the fluid version. There has to be some kind of thing where they can somehow tap into the actual original line, as if a bloodline. You know, even in the secret societies, for instance, they still have their archetypal realm. So you, Bambaataa, etc., all the others in the beginning, you guys are in the archetypal realm of hip-hop as far as the primal imagery, which you know all about because you're photography, but even like the dancer, the rapper, etc. So, but the United Nations now, the significance of the United Nations being aware of hip-hop, or what exactly in that situation with the United Nations.
Let me explain about the United Nations. The United Nations, on its face, is an organization that's supposed to bring peace between warring nations. The truth is, if you read what the United Nations actually is, and if you read their charter, one of the bylaws of the Charter of the United Nations is birth control and population control, because the powers that be understand that if you have more than 7 billion people, more actually, I forget what the number is, I think 3 billion, they want to get rid of maybe 5 billion of us.
80%.
80%, and because we're more controllable, therefore. But the truth is that the United Nations is actually, and I'm not going to do the class here, but the United Nations is actually, you know, part of the problem and not part of the solution. And it's a power unto itself. So that could be a whole nother thing that I could go into. The reason we went to the United Nations is because we wanted to have an international peace treaty amongst hip-hop people and amongst people of color. So all the people that went there to the hip-hop peace treaty under the auspices of the Temple of Hip Hop went there and understood that if I was having a problem with her and him, that once I went there, by going there, I acknowledged those were my family, and that we could no longer carry that beef once we left. And we took a pledge that day to be peaceful and kind and loving and respectful to one another. That's why we did it at the United Nations, to have that consciousness and to have that awareness and to really fulfill the promise of the United Nations, which the United Nations is not going to do.
They're not going to like that either. All right, thank you.
Thank you, brother. And thank you for always.
One quick question I have, because you just brought up the, and we'll wrap after this last question. But
I'm here.
all right, I saw you.
You all are
checking
here.
time, just making sure.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I even got a sandwich here, so trust me, I'm here. I'm good.
The museums in the Bronx. I've been hearing this for a little while right now, and I hear Ben Bada talking about it. Where are things at with the Bronx Museum?
TBD, to be determined. One thing you find out when you're on top is that everybody's looking up to you, but also they say in Jamaica that the higher the monkey climbs, the more he does reveal. So if you ever look at a monkey, you see a lot of things that you might not see if the monkey's on the ground. So people are always coming up to us with, Joseph caught that, people are always coming up to us with ideas and ideals. So the Hip Hop Museum has a history of always getting close but never actually scoring the goal. When it happens, you'll all know, but right now it's still TBD, to be determined. As it unfolds, it'll be interesting. And, you know, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, I was just shocked that I was even inducted into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame because I'm not a rapper or, you know, any of those things. But if it happens, you'll all be the first to know. Well, yes and no, because then when you have a hip hop museum, what do you let in and what do you let out? And when I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we brought hip hop to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the first time in 1999, and guess what? They had a one-purpose floor the size of an airplane hangar on Elvis, and they had us like in a back room, you know, where it wasn't too bright. You know, they had hip hop like a stepchild, you know. And we really, you know, made our presence known. We were hardly quiet, and the Grammys is the same thing. Television is the same. The magazines used to be the same. If you wanted to be in a magazine and you were involved with hip hop or you were black, the only way you could get in a magazine is if you had eyeliner and looked like Prince, or Michael Jackson with the Jerry curl. You couldn't get there if you looked like Professor X or, you know. So things change and evolve, but damn, man, what would you put in a hip hop museum? Should you have a whole floor for 50 cents? Or Drake? Or, you know, I mean, who makes the decision? So a hip hop museum may not necessarily be the right thing, especially if it's done the wrong way, or if it's MTV, or, you know, that type of consciousness. Hip hop, I don't even know if it can be put in a museum.
Do you have one question?
Brother Ernie, thank you so
brother.
much.
Thank you.
We
I feel
met in-
someone's loving this.
Yeah. We met like in
I'm
the
embarrassed.
90s. But I have a twofold question, and it revolves around healing. Coming from Cape Town, South Africa, of the first kind of generation of hip hop heads, hip hop served as almost therapeutic kind of role due to the traumas that we experienced, both personally and from the apartheid regime and
If
capitalism.
you guys
and all
don't
that.
know about apartheid, you need to know. If you don't know, now you know. Apartheid, this is probably children here. Apartheid was an MF, straight up, okay? And the same people who ran apartheid are now looking to create a global apartheid. And that's not paranoia.
Right. So my question is, from those early 70s that you've observed outside of hip hop that comes with the barcode? Did it serve a similar kind of purpose for those that you've seen from there? And my second question is that we've spoken about colonization, which is essentially corporate colonization, but there's also colonization, actual colonization that is happening. So colonization isn't an event that happened, it's a process that is still taking place. And hip-hop was brought together, birthed, if you will, on colonized land as well. So how would that shift our lens in terms of making sense of hip-hop if we bring that into the picture and not just hip-hop is African tradition with Japanese technology? Thank you.
In 2005 or 2004, I was asked to speak at a high school. And the high school was East Orange High School. And one of the people who graduated from there was Queen Latifah, Lauryn Hill, and Naughty by Nature. And I went there with Naughty by Nature, and Vinnie Brown, who's Vin Rock from Naughty by Nature, I always respected. I knew he had his thing together. I knew Tretch really well, and he was kind of, you know, gangsterish and tough and, you know, ladies' man and so on and so forth. But during the question and answer, I was really, really, really impressed by Tretch, because when they asked him about how do you become a rapper, Tretch answered, you should not become a rapper. Look at Brother Ernie, he's a photographer, and no matter who's hot and who's not, Brother Ernie's always making money. There are recording engineers, and never mind this BS about a producer, that's baloney. That's like a DJ. You have more DJs and producers than dogs got fleas. But a good engineering man, a good sound man, a good lighting man or woman, a good technical person that does the technical setups on videos, and so on and so forth. So he told his kids, if you're a rapper and follow this, it's like the spokes in a wheel. As that wheel turns, you go from the top to the bottom, and you very seldom get back to the top. But if you're a lighting man, or a photographer, or a video maker, or a sound man, or an engineer, or 100 other jobs, then you will always have work. And those kids gave him a standing ovation for that, because I stood up and clapped too, because he's telling you, you don't have to do, you know, and last for 5 minutes, you can last forever. So that's part of the answer. As far as the 70s, as far as hip hop, I'll reiterate that hip hop was the voice of the voiceless. It came from us. It was our voice, our sound, our streets, our pain, our anger, our hurt. And for the first fucking time in history, you saw us not in handcuffs on the 6 o'clock news. And there are people that started in the 70s and 80s that are still working today in jobs as, you know, as authors or people that do big paintings on sides of buses and corporate work, and people that started in hip-hop, you know, carrying speakers, and now sound engineers that work on, you know, multi-million-dollar albums. So that was the first time. And again, just like jazz and bebop and everything, and blues, it all came, reggae from Trenchtown, it all comes from those who have not creating something that everybody else wants. I don't know if you've ever been to Japan, but they have these kids that dye their skin brown and nap their heads so they can look African. And that's global. I mean, we have Zulu in 40 nations. Think about that, man. This is, never underestimate the power of, beyond hip hop, it's us coming together. Remember I said we could change the face of the universe, just the people in this room. Think about that, man, the power that we have. By linking and uniting, hip-hop came from nothing and made something. That's why the cats I was talking about, the he was kind enough to put on a hip-hop program, could never be hip-hop. Because they paid no dues, and they don't feel the vibe, they see a paycheck. I'm trying to be kind, Chad.
Don't be kind, be honest, man. Tell the truth, fuck it.
I've always said that, and you know that. And, you know, there may come a day where me and them gentlemen are sitting there together, but the difference between me and any other gentleman is that I'm a peaceful, respectful brother. Very calm and very composed, but I will put my foot in their ass also. Run and tell that.
So you feel like you got your question responded to? You good?
You good?
You good?
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, this is the one question that if we look at hip-hop's birth and continuation taking place on stolen land, how would that alter our view of hip-hop outside of just, like I said, African technology, African tradition and Japanese technology?
Talking about the Bronx
For me,
being
coming from South Africa, I have to come to terms with, regardless of whether I am targeted by the cops wherever I go here, or whatever other structural crap I have to deal with. I am in many ways a settler, not the same settler as a hopper, but I'm a settler right here. And so, which means that whoever the pioneers of hip-hop were, also created hip-hop on stolen land. Now how does that influence the way we now make sense of hip-hop? Or doesn't it matter?
Anybody want to take that on?
But like, when we talk about oranges, like I mean, not to be disrespectful or whatever, but like, Cool Herc came from Jamaica, and everyone always wants to talk about Bronx, but like, Cool Herc's from Jamaica, so we can't disrespect, you know, the architect and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people want to forget that history, but like, that needs to be broken down. And even though that, I mean, that is also stolen land, but I know that might not necessarily be the context in what you're thinking of, but like, I don't think that like, I just wanted to like interject and make sure, because everyone talks about the Bronx, but it's Jamaica that came forth still first. So like, but then even still, like, you know, enslaved Africans being brought to in Trinidad, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. So like, just it's not just like a you know, first world colonized context, like, you know what I mean. So like, I guess like the islands are like kind of like a third world context. So like that also has to inform your information, or whatever. So I just wanted to.
I'll give you another answer to that.
Sorry, real quick, Mike, real quick. I'm very, very excited that we're about to go into this conversation, because having Brother Ernie in this space to you know, instigate a conversation like this, and you're like to have this space. I just want to make sure that everyone's understanding of these issues are very different. So this is not a place to criticize. It's a place to open up and to have a place of conversation. So I just want to put that out there so that we're all in one safe space to discuss this stuff.
Respect. Yeah, you're like a settler here in like America, but we were stolen, just like the land was stolen from the people, right? So
Amen.
it's all,
Amen.
so it was all, it's like the stolen and the stolen from against the stealers, right? And it's wherever you go. And I notice a lot of people immigrate here and they want to get in with the colonizer, you know? But you're in the right place because you're here with the stolen. So you're good.
Thank you. Thank you. I knew somebody could answer better than me.
Does anyone else want to respond to that? I know there's a